Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis, and in this video we actually got our first preview of Arc 3.0 today. Bungie basically just dropped it. I know last season they were maybe coming in a little hot, no pun intended for Solar 3.0 there, but maybe they were just trying to get some things nailed down. Looks like we're going to get this preview a little early, and we also don't have a surprise which subclass it's going to be, so let's go through this. I haven't read it yet, so these are going to be my live reactions. If you have, then you'll just kind of have to pick through as we go. So, bring the thunder inside Arc 3.0. Like the inevitable lightning that follows storm clouds, Arc 3.0's time has finally arrived. In 2022, the original trio of elemental subclasses that power Guardians in Destiny 2 have been undergoing a major overhaul. Void was the first to get the 3.0 treatment with the launch of Witch Queen, Seize the Haunted welcomed Solar 3.0, and soon it will be time for Arc wielders to receive their upgrade. The Destiny 2 development team has been hard at work on the subclass revamp, making sure that the new version of Arc brings the thunder. Having led subclass redesigns with Void and Solar, the team has spent a great deal of time zeroing in on the essence of what subclass revamp is all about, making sure that every aspect of gameplay and every ability and feature fits into the player fantasy. To get there, it all starts with inspiration. Arc is really just go fast and hit stuff, said Destiny designer Sam Dunn, when asked about the core fantasy that powered Arc 3.0. We call it the Hold W subclass. Okay, alright. Everything is built around moving forward, enabling aggression and those abilities. Powering that high-speed, high-impact goal, one of the prime inspirations for Arc 3.0 was the 2009 action movie Crank High Voltage. Oh my god, I don't know where this is going. The madcap action flick stars Jason Statham, yep, I remember it, as an ex-hitman who has his heart stolen and replaced with a battery. To stay alive, Statham must keep his body electrically charged in increasingly outrageous ways. It's non-stop, it's relentless, and it's a great place to start for a fantasy that a team wanted to achieve. Okay, that is quite a mental image, but I will definitely say it's obviously not going to be that crazy. Namely, ridiculous closing speed and maximum impact upon arrival. We had a lot of ideas about, oh, you get this buff, and then, much like Jason Statham's heart, you need to keep it ticking by staying in the fight. As Destiny designer Mike Humboldt, as the design evolved, we strayed a bit from that just because it's hard to achieve that in gameplay of Destiny, where you're deleting 75 monsters in a room and then running through a hallway. Yeah, part of the level design, it's kind of how that works. But that was the emotional fantasy that we wanted to go for, very much like living on the edge. Guardians who have spent some time with the revamped versions of Void and Solar, or Stasis for that matter, know the basics of where to begin with Arc 3.0. As with those other subclasses, Arc will give players more flexibility over customization of their Guardians' powers to suit their playstyle through the introduction of aspects and fragments. In addition, the new returning class and melee abilities have been built or refactored for the modern Destiny 2 sandbox, making the subclass more powerful than ever. Lighting up new abilities. Before we dive into class-specific Arc abilities, let's talk about the buffs and debuffs that are key to Arc 3.0. They're kind of verbs or word choices they use. First up is the new buff Amplified, which is key to the Arc 3.0 experience. An Amplified Guardian is faster, both in terms of movement speed and in terms of their weapon handling, and more agile, able to perform long slides that can function as a devastating setup for some of the attacks that follow. Unlike damage type buffs, Void's invisibility or Solar's radiant, players don't need to equip any specific aspects or fragments to become amplified. By default, all Arc classes become amplified after rapidly defeating targets or with any Arc damage. So you are going to want to synergize Arc weapons with Arc damage to pair with this subclass. So look through your vault, look over Arc weapons. It's going to be a big deal. And equipped aspects and fragments offer additional ways to become or benefit from being amplified. After sprinting for a few seconds, an amplified Guardian will gain another boost in speed. As designer Mike Humboldt put it, basically, as fast as we can make our sprint animation go. We're kind of getting to the limits of, again, the systems here, but good. I'll be curious to see what that looks like, at least. Gaining a sizable PvE damage resistance buff. Okay, hold on, let's read through. After sprinting for a few seconds, an amplified Guardian will gain another boost in speed. So you'll get a boost in speed, gaining a sizable PvE damage resistance buff, so if you're sprinting faster, you're harder to kill, which, if you get into the mix, that's probably not a bad thing, and enabling an ever longer slide ability. Imagine full-on Metroid speed booster mode, only Samus is now wielding Gjallarhorn. That actually is a really cool way to phrase it. Even if a player is no longer amplified, as long as they keep sprinting, the speed booster will stay active. That's actually kind of cool. In development, Speed Booster probably took the longest for me to get on board with, in that you were already moving faster to begin with. When asked about the process of developing and refining the verbs for Arc 3.0, adding PvE damage resistance to Speed Booster to cement it as a strong gap-closing tool, and seeing it being used to move from one cover to the next in playtesting really brought it all together for me. You start sprinting, and then you hear this audio swell start to come up, and you're like a jet engine rocketing around the arena. It's awesome. The way they're describing this sounds cool. Now, granted, the faster you move and running to cover, I still don't know if I'm going to go sprinting up to like a sniper and a Grandmaster, but the idea of what they're building here actually at least sounds cool, so I appreciate what they're going for. On the debuff side, Arc 3.0 is bringing 2 to the party. Blind, which I think a lot of people expected because of the Blinding Grenade, and Jolt. Blinded opponents in PvE won't be able to see, naturally, and will also be disoriented and unable to fire their weapon. In PvP, a blinded opponent will have their screen whited out and their HUD removed for a short period of time alongside a ringing audio effect, simulating the ringing in the ears after a flashbang grenade explodes. Jolted opponents who are damaged will periodically send slivers of chain lightning out to nearby enemies, damaging them in the process. So that's kind of something, that may be a debuff that you build on an enemy if you hit them. I'm telling you, like Thunderlord, Risk Runner, Trinity Ghoul, these are all going to be amazing. Now, Storm Chaser as its arc still may be good, but those chain lightning ones, man, you better have your exotics, your catalysts, get that stuff done. If you haven't done it yet, you got it like less than a week. Arc 3.0 democratizes ionic traces, which were previously able to only to middle tree warlocks, now available to all. Traces are objects that, when collected, will add energy to all your abilities. Now that you're familiar with the basics, let's jump into the classes. And again, I typically play Titan a lot. I'm less knowledgeable on some others, so again, if you guys have comments on this stuff, thoughts, opinions, throw that stuff in the comments below. Always curious to read you guys' takes when you guys are likely sometimes a little more master of a class than I am, so I'll take it. Hunter. A hunter dashing forward, crackling with the power of arc lightning, is a sight that is sure to strike fear in the heart of any enemy. As with previous subclass revamps, the team had definite images in mind when considering what the new arc should feel like in combat. For Hunter, the team imagined the graceful warrior monk, giving the hunter the ability to get in close quarters quickly and effectively and make a mess of their opponents in the process. For hunters, we wanted to reward staying in close and being safe while you're in close quarters with an enemy, which is very difficult to do in a lot of their content. We wanted to give them tools to stay alive while they either closed the gap or were in melee combat. That came primarily in the form of giving them crowd control tools. All right. To that end, the Hunter's Arc Staff Super is okay. We got the staff back. All right. I'm all right. So the Arc Staff Super is returned. Wait, hold on. I'm thinking Arc Blade from D1. I thought we were getting different stuff. With Arc Staff, hunters will be able to block and deflect projectiles with the press of a button, as well as perform an armored dodge, where upon dodging, the hunter is more resistant to incoming damage. But one super just didn't seem like enough to the team, thus the introduction of a brand new Arc-themed super, the Gathering Storm. Now, this is one of those times when, like, you get a new super, it's kind of a cool thing. To wonder if it's going to be balanced, who knows? But an arc-themed super, the Gathering Storm. I love the name. Now, what's this do? Here, the hunter leaps into the air, hurling their staff into the ground or into an unlucky enemy like a spear. Upon impact, the staff emanates a damaging burst that jolts nearby enemies. Soon after, a giant bolt of lightning strikes the staff and overcharges it, creating a large damage zone around it for several seconds. While overcharged, the staff sends out arcs of lightning to damage any enemies that move near it. Alright, that's actually going to be like an area of effect absolute just awfulness, but if you throw that onto a boss area, into a big group of enemies, it sounds like they're all going to be toast, and anything that's a little higher is definitely going to get cooked for a little while. On the melee side, the team kept the hunter's combination blow ability, feeling like it was right in line with the graceful warrior fantasy they were going for. Kills with combination blow will refund dodge energy, increase melee damage, and restore a small amount of health, allowing skilled hunters to chain their dodges and melee attacks into ballistic bursts of beautiful fury. There's a sentence. In addition, disorienting blow melee returns, blinding opponents with a devastating palm attack, while now amplifying the hunter along the way. Hunters will be able to choose from 3 arc aspects to customize their tactical style. Flow state, defeating a jolted opponent causes you to become amplified. When amplified, the Hunter's dodge will recharge faster and make you more resistant to damage. And you have quicker... Okay. Defeating a jolted opponent causes you to become amplified. Okay. Got to figure out how to jolt opponents in the first place. We'll see how that works. When amplified, the Hunter's dodge will recharge faster and will make you more resistant to damage, and you have quicker reload times. Tempest Strike allows the Hunter to perform a sliding melee that launches an arc wave along the ground, kind of in the game already, dealing significant damage and jolting enemies in the path. Okay, that's a way to jolt. Lethal Current. After dodging, the Hunter's melee lunge range is increased, and their next melee jolts the target and creates a damaging lightning aftershock. When used with the Arc Staff Super, after dodging, the Hunter's next staff attack hits twice. In addition, hitting a jolted enemy with a melee attack will blind them. Sounds like an interesting combination. There's a lot going on. It's a combination of some new and old, not too bad. Finally, and particularly of note, Arc 3.0 will bring back the blink movement for Arc Hunters. In fact, the blink ability will also be a baseline buff for any class that has access to it. Looking at you, Void Warlocks. Blink hasn't really been touched since Destiny 2's release, and never quite reached the heights of its previous reign of terror. We felt like this was a good time to walk a few of the tuning changes back a little and bring Blink's potency at baseline up without needing an exotic equipped. In practical terms, that means increased travel distance and a reworked recharge model for the ability that will keep it fresh while still maintaining its effectiveness. So Blink is coming back, and it's gonna be a little chunkier, so we'll have to see what that means. Warlock. Player fantasies don't come any more vivid than what the team has in mind for Arc 3.0 Warlocks. Two separate images were top of mind. The Lightning Shaman and Emperor Palpatine in full Lightning Fingers mode while turning like Luke Skywalker into burnt toast. We wanted the player to feel like they are channeling the power of the storm through their body, said Dunn, controlling the storm, controlling lightning like an elemental conduit. Two supers will be available for Warlocks: Chaos Reach, where players will be able to shoot concentrated beams of arc energy out of their hand to decimate opponents, and Storm Trance, which is more akin to the image of Palpatine floating around the world firing electricity from their fingers. The super combines both the landfall behavior from previous bottom tier arc, creating a damaging shockwave underneath the player, and the ionic blink behavior from the old top tree arc, allowing the Warlock to teleport briefly during the super. The fact that both of those together sounds really cool. It makes the super kind of the best of both worlds there. Warlocks will have two melee abilities, both utilizing the power of lightning. The ball lightning melee will send out a floating ball of arc lightning that detonates, zapping enemies from above. The chain lightning will send out arcs of chain lightning to strike and jolt the primary target and chain damage to surrounding enemies in the process. The Warlock's whole thing is about being amplified, is that being amplified modifies their abilities. It powers them up. For ball lightning, if you're amplified, the arc ball will fly out and zap enemies 3 times instead of just the normal 1 time, so you can get more damage out of it. For chain lightning, it chains to more targets. More specifically, while normal chain lightning creates a single set of chains that bounce between a set number of targets, when amplified, the ability creates 2 sets of chains and can potentially jump to twice the number of enemies. Aspects. So you got Arc Soul. The Warlock casts a rift to create an Arc Soul that will assist players in battle. Allies who pass through the rift will also earn an Arc Soul. The rift charges faster when allies are near, while amplified, any Arc Soul you have or gain is supercharged, increasing its rate of fire. Now, right now, there's an exotic that does this. So, supercharging your Arc Soul, making it increase its rate of fire, that comes from an exotic. So, are they changing up the way that exotic works? Possibly, but that may be something we have to find out, and maybe it's listed below. Lightning Surge. The Warlock activates their melee while sliding to transform into a ball of lightning and teleport forward. That kind of sounds like a blink. Calling down a field of lightning bolts at the exit point that jolts targets. They really want you to slide, so get comfortable with your slide button. You're going to be using it quite a bit. Electrostatic Mind. Arc ability kills and kills on arc debuffed enemies create ionic traces. When you collect an ionic trace, you become amplified. So the ionic traces buffing your abilities, also making you amplified. And then if you're amplified, any Arc Soul, you gets increased rate of fire. Definitely some good synergy with sounding like there. Titan. This is my world. Titans haven't traditionally been known as paragons of mobility, but with Arc 3.0, the team is shaking things up. The team had a couple of inspirations in mind for the Titan Arc revamp: the Lead with Your Fists, Bare Knuckle Brawler, and the Freight Train. You don't get to move the Arc Titan, they move you. The Arc Titan's ultimate goal is to punch you in the face, and so a lot of what we did for Arc Titan was to try and figure out how we facilitate fist-to-face contact as much as possible. That is a weird hyphenated phrase there, but fist-to-face, I guess that's what you're going for. That desire to punch all things manifests in a couple of devastating supers that are returned for Arc 3.0. Fist of Havoc and Thunder Crash. While the latter is practically unchanged from before, that's not surprising because you fly around, and with the exotic, it's just a beast amount of damage. Fist of Havoc now has an adjusted slam radius that's halfway between top and bottom path, and the ground slam leaves a damaging field in its wake, while slamming from the air causes damaging AoE effect from previous top tree behavior. In the case of Thunder Crash and other abilities, uncoupling a subclass abilities from its old subclass diamond system will result in substantial buffs depending on how the players use it. It's one of the intrinsic advantages that the new subclass 3.0 system brings to Destiny. So basically, Thunder Crash is already crazy strong and has one purpose: delete like one single thing, or at least do as much damage with one shot as you can. Now the fact that you're not stuck with just using Thunder Crash and, you know, the melee ability Slam, that'll be a little bit different. When you start pairing them with different things, even though nothing changed about the actual ability, they can end up getting significantly stronger as a result. Because now they aren't locked into a canned set of perks that surround them, Thunder Crash is a great example of that. One of the biggest changes coming to Arc Titan is the new Thruster class... What? Thruster class ability. Class ability is typically always a barricade, so this seems new. By double tapping a button, the Titan bursts in their throttle direction at speed, performing a quick first-person evade comparable in distance to a hunter's dodge. Ooh. The fact that finally... Okay. Titans have felt like kind of glued to the floor. Not always, you kind of float, but there's no quick movement ability to make you change direction, harder to hit. Because, you know, you've got dodge, you've got Icarus Dash. This is finally one that Titans get. So you got a thruster. Arc is a damage type that is about mobility. So if we are going to add a mobility boost anywhere for Titans, it's going to be here. That's interesting. I am very curious to see how that new thruster ability works. But I can tell you it's exciting to finally have some movement ability, and if they want you to close the gap, they had to give you something. For melee attacks, Titans will retain Seismic Strike, Shoulder Charge, which blinds enemies. Okay, so if you do get that Shoulder Charge, you'll get blinding. Performing a Seismic Strike while amplified will will increase the radius, and the blinding effect will last longer. Ballistic Slam also returns, where players can slam the ground after sprinting in the air, creating a damaging explosion upon impact. Those returning melees will be joined by a brand new attack known as Thunderclap. Oh, there's going to be some jokes in there, I have imagined. Here, the Titan player holds the melee button and charges up arc energy that can be unleashed in either a quick, powerful jab, or held and built up to be unleashed in a furious one-punch man-style blast that will devastate an opponent. The charge state cannot be stored, and the Titan must be on the ground to charge the punch. The damage is significant. A 90% charge Thunderclap will one-shot Guardians in PvP. And there come some highlights from this one. If you can run and charge it, and then finally get that one punch off, there's definitely going to be some running punches happening for sure. But that reward will be balanced by the time it takes to build up that charge level, and the fact that you must remain stationary to charge, always a dangerous move in PvP. Okay, so you have to remain stationary to charge. That's going to be hard, actually. You're going to have to be, like, waiting around a corner with this, like, charged fist, and somebody walks around the corner. Bam. I think. Unless it just functions in a different way. Not sure. Sounds cool, but... Now, granted, if you can do a Ballistic Slam or, say, a Seismic Strike Shoulder Charge, things are blinded around you, charge up the melee, and then punch, theoretically, normal enemies, like PvE enemies, could take quite a bit from that one. We'll have to see. Like the other classes, we're going to have 3 aspects. These are much longer in description. Touch of Thunder improves arc grenades in the following ways. Flashbang fires an additional blind impulse on its first bounce. That's interesting. Pulse, when the grenade damages an enemy, it creates an ionic trace for the Titan. Pulse grenade damage increases over time as the grenade lingers after impact. Yeah, okay. Lightning. Grants an additional charge for the lightning grenade and jolts targets on initial blast. Storm grenade. It is going to be weird to have a storm grenade as a Titan. I always forget about all the grenades are available type thing. Creates a roaming thundercloud that moves and tracks enemies similar to the Stasis, Hunter, Silence, and Squall. Ooh, that's going to be rough to throw and then have it chase people around a corner. That's definitely going to be something for PvP annoyances. Firing lightning bolts at the ground underneath it. Yeah, if you can throw a storm cloud and it would usually kind of go around the corner, but now if it's going to move around the corner, that's going to be a thing. Excuse me. Juggernaut. While sprinting with full class ability energy, the Titan gains a frontal shield that blocks incoming damage. When amplified, the shield is stronger. Once the shield is depleted by taking damage, the player's class ability is depleted. Interesting. Knockout. Melee kills trigger health regeneration, make the Titan amplified. Critically wounding an enemy or breaking their shield increases melee range and damage for a brief period. Titan's base melee becomes arc empowered while knockout is active. Kind of similar to Solar now. Excuse me. To complement the class aspects, Arc 3.0 will also introduce a suite of new fragments, which offer new perks to build upon, as well as added bonuses. Here's a look at a few of the fragments to come. So the Spark of Beacons, when the player is amplified, Arc special weapon kills create a blinding explosion. What? Hold on. When the player is amplified, and you seem to be able to get that in quite a few different ways depending on your class, Arc special weapons, which there's a lot of those, take risk, special weapons, I was going to say not Risk Runner. I'm literally trying to think. What would be an Arc special weapon? Cold Heart would be one, for example, just literally offhand. Yeah, Cold Heart would be one. There's going to be some interesting choices, but that's just going to... Now Cold Heart can just blind things when you kill them. And there's a big list, and I'm blanking right now on basically every Arc weapon. So yeah, go think about all of those. An Arc sniper rifle would, theoretically. When surrounded by enemies, the player has increased damage resistance. That's definitely going to be an important thing if you're trying to get up in the mix. Sliding over ammo will reload your weapon and grant a small amount of melee energy. Sliding over heavy ammo increases the amount of energy granted. They really want you to slide. This is going to make people learn to slide or try and use it. And the player's Arc Grenade jolts enemies. I was wondering how Jolt was going to come in, and you can just basically crank it on right there. In all, the changes that are coming with Arc 3.0 give Guardians more ways to bring the pain to the enemies of humanity, while also letting players customize their Guardian to the way they want to play. Sorry, apparently I can't read a sentence properly right now. Fans will have their first chance to see Arc 3.0 in action during next week's Destiny 2 showcase, which is coming on August 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So if you don't know 9 a.m. Pacific time, that's noon Eastern. That's the showcase. The servers come up 1 hour later. So basically what I'm probably going to have to do is do a live reaction. So I will be live on Twitch that morning, probably at about 8 when they start their preview showcase, which is probably what they did before, thanking the community, highlighting artists, showing concept art, whatever they were doing before is basically just really cool things. They'll probably talk about the Bungie Foundation. That hour before the showcase, they will be live, so I will be co-streaming that part of it and just chatting with you guys, having breakfast, all of those things. Because for me, that's going to be 10 a.m. for the pre-show, and then 11 a.m. I'm Central Time. That is when the showcase kicks off. 1 hour later, everything for Season 18 is going to go live. So we're not going to have a lot of time in between there. And if I'm not able to make a video, I might honestly just upload my live reactions. And I probably will scroll back and forth and try and figure out the pieces of the video to look at. But I may not be able to do frame by frame as I've done before because the timing is going to be a little bit tighter. Check out the showcase reveal page to learn more. That's basically the timing. Likely to also see stuff about Nightfall then too. So if you are curious about any and all of that, come hang out on Twitch with me. And then as soon as servers go live, obviously we'll be breaking it down, trying to get that video up. And then when servers go up, we jump into Season 18. You guys know I've got basically every guide that I'm going to possibly able to make in 3 days. And then we've got the raid, whichever raid it's going to be, launching on Friday, which is what, the 27th? 26th. Yeah, 3 days later, 72 hours to get ready for this thing. So Arc 3.0 sounds very cool. It sounds up in your face. You'll be sliding more, but blinding, being amplified, getting more damage in these aspects, and the additions to the classes I appreciate. I think each class got something very cool, and I'm very curious to try them all out. So let me know below in the comments what you think your favorite possible piece of this new subclass is. Arc 3.0 sounds like it's going to definitely be able to stand on its own compared to the other two, though. Be curious how it is in balance, but I don't care, as I usually do mostly PvE stuff. But again, I don't want to break the sandbox in PvP either, so we'll see how it goes. But if you enjoyed the video, drop a like below. If you want to find me on Twitch or Twitter, it's just Ebontis over there as well. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more stuff from me, I'm working on a review for Thymesia. I'm going to put that out tomorrow. It's kind of a little Indie Souls-like. I have opinions, and it's my first review, so if you guys want to help support me, come watch that video, just because it's me actually trying to do a game review, and I'm trying to be analytical. And then if you guys are not YouTube members or Patreon subs, you guys can check that out as well. But if you are not a subscriber of the channel, just hit that subscribe button and the alert bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Looking forward to the showcase. It's going to be crazy.